That's how we own it.
What's up, family? It's your girl, Tamika D. Mallory.
And it's your boy, Mysonne, the General.
And we are your hosts of Street Politicians, the place where the streets and politics meet. What's good?
What's up? The streets, politics, streets.
You know why I gotta be in the politics?
I mean, listen.
Nobody ever said
they had to choose
we don't have roles.
It's a little mix. It's got a little more street.
It's like the girl and the boy, I guess.
Well, listen.
You know what? The other day, I went to check like something. I don't know if it was banking or some important app that I have, and my gender was pre-selected as gender non-conforming, and I was like, it's very interesting that the system shows that for me.
Pre-selected, like it's totally.
Yeah, it was just there. I'm like, I never said that.
You ain't none of this.
No, I mean, obviously I support people who are gender non-conforming, but I still would like to choose female. Yeah. And they put gender non-conforming, and I was thinking to myself, it's interesting that it's a pre-selection.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's interesting that not only is there pre-selection, but the pre-selection is something that you didn't select.
I didn't select. It's so many things that's been happening. Let me tell you something, my son. This is what I have learned. You have to be really, really on top of your business. Because at one point, someone was charging or moving somehow payments or money in increments of 19,000 some change from my account, but the system was blocking them. And then I had to put these controls on my account that stops everything. So now every damn thing I do, things are not going, I got to go in, I got to click the thing and agree to this payment, because this was happening over some time. And if it was not for the fact that the system was kicking it back, it would have been gone, because however this person or this whatever it is had the situation set up, it was like working, like, because you could see the money was coming out of my available balance. It was like really something serious, and they did it more than one time. Oh, I know how we found out. There wasn't $19,000 in there at one point, so there was like a negative thing, and I'm like, what is this? I didn't try to spend that kind of money, and it was actually because they had tried before.
So they got a couple dollars.
No, they never got it. Oh. Each time it did not clear. But this time so there was more of an alert, because
it takes it out and leaves it there.
It holds it for 2 days, and then it'll bounce back in. So that happened, and I obviously didn't know, right? Because you know how you try to leave your money and don't freaking spend it. Like, this is the biggest challenge of my life, is not spending your money, trying to save my money. And so I wasn't checking. And then the next time, because of the fact that there was not enough money to cover that type of transaction, it set off other alerts that I have, and they sent me messages. And I'm like, what? 19? What are you talking? Like, it was like the apocalypse happened in my life. Like, what are you talking about? And when I went, and then, they looked back and they saw. So the point is that you have to check your balance regularly. You got to check your balance. You have to make sure you know exactly how much money you have in the bank, in your investment accounts. Now investment accounts is a little bit different, because I've been told you kind of put it, leave it, and just let it grow. But every now and then you still need to check to see what's going on. Because you have to know, like, shit, you might have made a whole lot of money too and have no idea that you're up. And if you up, some people feel like, while I'm up, let me take at least what I put in out, or some portion of what I put in out, and leave the rest, and leave the rest. So, you have to monitor. You can't just be in the game with 2 toes. Like, you have to be in it all the way. And it's a lot of things: taking care of your body, taking care of, your everything, your job. It's a lot of responsibility.
It's definitely a responsibility.
It is. And it's a lot. Being grown is the hardest job
in the world.
Yo, it is just so hard.
I remember when I was young, I just wanted to be grown so bad. I just can't wait to be grown.
Is ghetto,
so I can do what I want to do. Mm-hmm. Now I don't want to do none of the shit that I want to do, because want to do comes with payments and spending money and
it's ghetto here. It really is. It's like it's like every day out, and then getting up at a certain time and doing this. Oh man, and doing this,
and if you don't do it, you're not gonna
and it's not gonna happen.
When you was young, you could just sleep or whatever, or you could have days off, and the food still was gonna get on the table. Things still gonna get done, and you thought. Like we were just talking about the magic card, the magic whatever.
Yeah, I told you.
We had the food stamp card, so it was different.
The little kid on Instagram, he's like, yeah, you know, Mom, just the card, the free money on the card. You give them the card. It's magic. No, it's not.
No.
It's not.
It's your ass.
It's not. And
it's your ass being worked off.
And as I prepare to be a grandma. And you are already a grandpa.
G-pop.
No, you're a G-pop. Yeah, I'm going to be grandma. I just look at the young people that are having these children. And my mom, my mom is the realest. And I'm like, these young kids, my mom like, them kids ain't that young. They 23 years old. That is not that young. 18, that was young. 17, 16, 23. These are people who are going to have to stand on up and handle their business. And I said, I don't think they can do it. She said, well, why could you do it? How come I could do it? What do you mean? The world does it. They're going to do it.
Every day.
They're going to do
people
it. But I feel for them because they don't
They're out here procreating and they're going to figure it out. It's on the job training. It's on the job training. Like, you're going to have to figure it out. You're going to get a couple shitty Pampers. You're going to be not sleep. You're going to be stressed out. You're going to miss shit you want to do.
There's another meme where they showed a baby. There's a little video. The guy's lifting his baby up. He's so cute. And the baby pisses everywhere. Out the pamper's on. But if you have the baby, a male child's penis the wrong way in the pamper, the urine can come out of it.
Shit can come out too. I've had a couple of those pampers where shit was everywhere. You like, what the fuck? How did this happen? Your clothes, good clothes.
It's a lot, and that's if it was just peeing on you and pooping on you, that'd be fine. Right. It's a whole other situation.
It's not sleeping. It's crying. It's got to feed. You don't know why they're crying. They're hysterically crying. It's all types of shit. You just trying to figure it out, man.
There's so much that happens. So. What is going on? I tell you. So first of all, help me understand this. The sex trafficking thing that happened in Georgia. Okay. So this is what I don't understand. Let me get this straight, because I really need it to be. This is what I don't get.
You need to get some straight.
No, for real.
A little bit of straight.
Because I don't understand it. Okay, so I just we have things. Shout out to Precious who gives us a strong rundown so we can be on point and not just talking.
P. Diddy.
The Georgia Sheriff's Department they had been monitoring a sex trafficking ring. So they went to bust the ring. At the same time, a deputy sheriff's car couldn't make it from. Okay, so maybe they went to Florida, right? They had to. Let me see. Where did they go? Right. Okay. So they're from Georgia, but somehow or another, this sex trafficking ring stretches all the way to Florida. Exactly. So it's from Georgia to Florida, across state lines. So he was going to a conference, and they said he didn't think his car could make the trip. So he took an official car, but he had already been set up by somebody, a detective who was texting with him, setting up prostitution, sex work, and the person was going to see him. I think I don't want to add any extra. So he was talking to this person. So they set it up. He had liquor for the person in the car and liquor for himself, and he was on his way to go meet this individual. And then when he got there, they busted him. Now here's what I'm trying to understand, because I'm not really clear. Because then I think they suspended him until further notice. He wasn't immediately fired. So I told you now he has the alcohol and stuff in his car in the official car. So that's automatically you get in trouble for that. Mm-hmm. So he makes these phone calls, does whatever. So then when he gets there, because he was supposed to pay, I think, $120 for sex, but he ended up offering $180 or something later on. So the price went up a couple dollars, because he said he wanted the full treatment. This the police in the car, the
deputy chief, not just the police.
Yeah, he's the deputy chief.
He's the deputy chief.
So they catch him. And and so he becomes a part of this ring. Now here's what I'm trying to figure out, and this may be a part of his legal defense, right? Because the title of the story and how I keep seeing it, it's a little like I'm not clear. Just because you went somewhere to buy sex, which is that you're you on the job official and you're in the official car, and that's not supposed to happen, and I'm sure there's charges and whatnot. How does that apply to the sex trafficking thing, other than the fact that where he was going to get the sex was clearly from some ring that had been set up that they were selling these girls' bodies?
Well, I guess it's a ring, right? So they saying that they were able to save
two women.
So obviously whoever was trafficking these women, they was following them, and that led them to seeing.
So he was just happened to be.
Yeah, he was part of the ring because they was kidnapping the girls, trafficking them, and then selling them for sex. So
but how are you a part of the ring just because you went to get the sex from the ring? You don't know it's a ring.
But you do know it's a ring.
How do you know that?
You know it's illegal.
I mean, you know it's illegal, but you don't got to know it's a sex trafficking ring.
But that's what I'm saying. You're part of the sex trafficking ring because it's a whole ring. That's why they say it's a ring. It's a circle.
They're catching everybody.
It goes around. It goes.
If you buying a coochie,
then you sell a coochie. It comes back.
Coochie,
the money comes back. So whatever it is, so it's a whole ring. And they also, not only did they find him and caught him, but they got some math teacher. They got a physical ed teacher and some Disney workers. So they got a lot of people got caught up. They said over 160 people was caught up in this week-long sting.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I think I don't think that sex trafficking that particular charge is gonna stick to him unless they can prove that he knew that that's what was going on.
Well, I don't think he's been charged with that. I think he's been charged with.
Oh, okay. So a sex trafficking bust
ring. It's a whole ring.
Causes them to learn of people. Exactly. Now, because I was really reading his fundamentals.
Yeah, that's why that's what they do. They sensationalize. They say the word sex trafficking, and now it look like you out here kidnapping people.
Yeah.
So you got to be very careful.
Well, not just kidnapping, coercing. There's a lot of ways that sex trafficking happens. So anyway, this is just really crazy. And the man, sir.
Disney worker, the Disney.
And you don't messed around. He hasn't even lost his job yet. They say he's suspended. I'm like, what are you talking about?
He brought a prostitute, bro.
But that's not cool, though.
It's not cool.
You can't, not in their car with the liquor.
Listen, I'm not saying any of it is cool. I'm just saying prostitution is the oldest profession.
Yeah, but not if you're being forced to do it.
Most of these, that's what I'm saying. They don't have anything that can say that he knows that these people are forced to do it.
We don't know that. Maybe he does.
And when the Disney worker, it brought me to, another thing about people being mad about Haley Bailey.
Yeah, she's
Haley Bailey.
Yes.
I was calling her Halle Berry.
They up there.
They up there, you know what I'm saying? Haley Bailey. But
they on their way though.
They on their way.
They on their way.
Bailey girls
I love them.
They on point. But they're mad because she's the new Little Mermaid.
White people.
White people are mad. There's a disgrace. They got a black Little Mermaid. And I seen a post today that made me laugh on our sister Dewana Thompson's page where she said they mad that the Little Mermaid black. Wait till they find out that Jesus is black.
Well, they already know Jesus is black. That's why they don't want the mermaid to be black. But I like the memes that say, they're upset because a fish. A woman that is part fish who sits in the sea and her best friend is a talking crab. They mad because they don't want that to be black. Lord. I mean, we just catch such a hard time. Now, speaking of things that's funny but not funny, let me tell you what happened to me today. You know that I am working on how I respond to ignorance. But I'm trying to understand in my thought of the day, is customer service done? Maybe COVID has created a situation where
no.
There's a no. Our production team, old Janice over there, will tell you that customer service has diminished or decreased greatly as of late. It's sad. Now, I go into Chipotle to get me a little meal. And a young man a nice looking young man, he's in there. First thing I walk in, there's a black woman, and she's just as funny and, and just hilarious. She's making everybody laugh. It's lunchtime. Everybody's laughing and talking. She's telling the guy right in front of me, you come in here all the time, you get the same bowl, but then there's another guy, she's talking. She's like, I got to remember which one of y'all, and everybody's talking, everybody's laughing. It's a good day. So I asked him to do something particular for my bowl, which I always have. And I mean, always. Anybody that goes to get me a bowl, everybody knows this is one thing that I like them to do. And it's not unusual. People do it all the time. He says to me, at first, and the black woman, tells the young man, all you have to do to fulfill what I'm asking for is this one little thing. And we move on. And I'm still over there minding their business because the lady's making everybody laugh. I turn around and notice that he didn't do the thing. So I say, I'm thinking he just forgot or whatever. And I said, could you please, make sure you do the thing. He says, I'm not doing that. And I said, okay. I said, why not? Like, what do you mean? He said, I'm not doing it. I said, okay. I said, you know what? Because again, I'm trying to work on how I deal with. I said, can you get your manager? Because I know this is a simple thing, and the manager will come and do it. I know that. I said, can you get your manager? He says, no, you go over there and talk to him yourself. And I'm now looking at him like, what exactly is happening? But when he says that, first of all, the black woman is confused as hell, like, what happened here? But also, the man behind me, to his credit, the white man behind me goes, what? Like, what is going on? What's the problem? So he says, you go over there. I got another customer. You can move over. I said, okay, wait. I'm not sure who you talking to, right? And the first time I said, I'm a customer. I don't have to walk over there to get anybody. The manager you need to go get the manager and tell him or her to come over here and talk to me. He said, well, I'm not doing that. I said, well, who the fuck do you think you're talking to?
When you said customer, it made me laugh. Because you was about to cuss the motherfucker.
Oh, absolutely. I said, who the fuck do you think you're talking? I'm talking to you.
That was coming.
But as he says he's talking to me, in the most nasty voice he could come up with, the manager is coming and is listening to what's going on. And he goes, no, you go back to the back. So he sends him to the back. And then the manager asks me, well, what's the problem, right? Because, of course, it must be something. I mean, this must be, we need to get your police on this because they cussing. He says, what's the problem? I asked the young man if he could take, because I don't really like a lot of beans. I asked him if he could take the bean gravy with the little cup like y'all do all the time and just put it on the thing. And he said, what? The manager was looking like, I know that this is not what this is about. Okay, and another guy runs and he goes, oh, no, you just do this and the third. What are you talking? What are we going? So you're going through something, whatever it is, obviously. And the white man begins to say, this is ridiculous. Like, all of this was for nothing. I don't understand. Like, nobody understands this. And I said to the black woman,
the man was ready to quit.
I asked the black woman.
He made his mind. This job wasn't for him no more.
But I asked the black woman, I said, did you?
Destroyed and broke his back.
I asked her, I said, that's all I asked for was a beater. She said, yep. It was so funny. So that happened to me there, right? And unfortunately, it was all black and brown people behind the table, which everybody, and once that happened and he was removed, everybody was super accommodating. It's Chipotle. They nice in Chipotle. Everybody was super accommodating. But then, so that happened to me in this situation. And again, I feel sorry. I don't know what's wrong with the young man. But then, I was on the plane the other day. First of all, it happened to me a few weeks ago. I was in the shoe department at Neiman Marcus, and the woman comes over and asks me what what kind of entertainment I'm into. Are you an actress, a dancer, or this or that and the third? No, ma'am, I'm not any of those things. And it's fine if you are, but that's not what I do, right? And then I was on the plane in first class yesterday, and the lady next to me just couldn't help herself. White woman says, "Are you a singer?" I'm just trying to figure out. It's like everywhere I go, it's either I'm dealing with racism, or in service business, you're dealing with people who are not professional. You're dealing with all kinds of service individuals all over. I mean, I can name service individuals that can't. What is happening exactly? Like, is there a school that you go to?
There needs to be a school. Shout out to my man Easy Out. Easy Out had a course that he wanted to teach people about customer service. He had his own little pamphlet because he realized that it's a forgotten art. People don't know. Like, you remember the customer's always right. You know that's gone. It ain't you not no customer. You somebody that come in and you fucking with my day. You know,
for stuff.
I'm trying to do simple shit. I want to do 1, 2, 3. I got to do something extra. Like, I actually got to work today because you want some motherfucking stuff. Like, nobody want to deal with that, man. Mm-hmm. I just want my check.
Just want the check.
I want it simple. I don't want no back talk. I don't want you to want things that's outside of the menu. I want the shit to go the way I want it to go. And you come in there fucking up. You actually want stuff.
Because I, as the employee, I must be paying for your food.
Yeah. Yeah, people is just not happy that they actually got to work, you know. So I'm sad that you had to go through that.
I just don't know what it is.
And as far as the rate, I think a lot of times people think these are compliments, right? When they look and they say, "Oh, you're an actress," you know, and they don't realize it's underlined that there's innate
that there is
mentality that you have to be doing something to entertain us in order to be in this stature.
Because no black person has ever asked me that. Like, literally, I've never been anywhere. I mean, I'm talking about in service. I can't think of anywhere at all. But certainly in like a service industry, I've never had a black person say, "Are you a singer or a rapper?" Because it's just like, we know that you just don't ask that question.
Yeah, it's just, you know. But it's
anyway, we living in a day.
Very, very strange time.
So let's get to the topic.
The topic of the day. And you know, it's with a heavy heart, you know. R.I.P. to PNB Rock.
PNB Rock.
You know, very good dude.
Sleep in peace.
Sleep in peace. But the level of violence that we are experiencing in our communities daily, not just in the music industry, but just in all of our communities, every day there's a life lost. I've seen young kids who were athletes get killed this summer. I've seen babies get killed this summer. I've seen women, children, everything is shot over senseless violence. Every day you've seen somebody trying to rob somebody stabbing somebody. Like, I want to know, what is it going to take to really, for us to come to the realization and understanding that we have to love each other, that we can't keep taking everybody's life. And it's like, right now, especially as a rapper, it's like you're an endangered species. It's like watching, and I say this all the time, you know, I don't blame any genre of music for violence, right? I think the music is the product of the violence. The violence is not the product of the music, you know. But when the violence in our community is being incentivized, and these kids feel like that's the only way to gain some level of success, to get some level of money, to get notoriety, and it's being celebrated, then whose fault really is it? Right? Who's the fault? But past the fault, what do we have to do to fix it? You know, what do we have to do that we value lives, that people aren't taking your life over a chain, that people aren't want to kill you over words, or that, you know, that people aren't smoking on each other's dead ops and all of these things. What do we have to do? You know, I really want to sit down. I'm really trying to sit and see if we can organize, you know, a panel or
not
a town
even a
hall,
panel,
just
really.
a real meeting with people that I think are influential, who are solution based, on what it's going to take for us to start loving and protecting us in our own communities, man. Like, I really want to know. That's what the topic of today is. Like, what do you think is going to take? What do you think? Is we going to keep losing? Is it going to take more lives being lost? Nipsey, we lost, you know, every week.
Extentia.
Yeah, we
Young
lost
Dolph.
X, we lost Young Dolph.
It's a lot.
And the list goes Mo 3, like the list goes on and on where there's senseless gun violence. So what do we need to do? How are we gonna curve it? How are we gonna fix? How are we gonna retrain the culture? You know, because right now the culture of violence is what's prevalent. So I want to know from y'all, you know, give us your feedback. What do you think is gonna really take to change the culture?
That's a good topic. We'll talk about it more throughout the show. In fact, we should ask our guest about it. You know, we talked about it, and we'll talk some more about the interview that I did this week. I tell you, these, as you said, headlines are so sensationalized because the TMZ interview, the title of it is Tamika Mallory says PNB Rock is dead because of economic conditions in our community. I'm like, that's not exactly.
But it's not what you said, but it's true.
Not
pretty
exact.
much
You know what I'm saying? I get it though. I get it, and I know they're gonna make it where it's clickbait, but that's not exactly the point. The point, because I was asked about rappers, and I said it's all black people in different areas, healthcare system, education, everywhere you turn, there are people dying. Right, and the only reason why we know about rappers is because we know them, so it's making the news. But there's a bunch of people dying every single day too, and we've been talking about it. We've been talking about people who die because you can't get the proper health care or mental health issues, and we've been talking about it. So that means that black people in general, overall, in order for us to fight to stop the rappers from being murdered, which we absolutely have to, we have to also focus on the whole pie. In order to understand the whole pie, you got to understand white supremacy. What did he say? If you don't understand racism, then nothing I'm saying to you is going to make sense. A brother said that in a meeting one day. It changed our whole life. If you don't understand the root cause of why, it's a jealousy. Root cause, jealousy. There's an issue. And social media has a big role in what we see happening today. You know, a 6-year-old child died by suicide because he said that, or I don't know who said it, but because of the racist comments, like the bullying that was happening in his school. Like, it's really, really sad. And our brother David John, who we need to have on, he sent me an article yesterday that shows that suicide rates among black women has like tripled. Skyrocketing is the word they use. Skyrocketing. So anyway, we should, you know, I think as we bring our next guest on, the economic piece is what I said is going to be a big part of how we turn this thing around. I don't think it's the only piece, because certainly there's got to be retraining, there's mental health stuff, there's a lot of things. But that economic piece is so important, because if you think for 1 minute, we talk about this all the time, that you're about to go outside, pop, lock, and drop it with your good stuff on, chilling, and people not going to say, wait a minute, starving. Let me get a little bit of that. Yeah, I need a little change. You know what I'm saying? That's what's going to happen. It ain't right. It shouldn't be. But that's the case, because a lot of people don't want to work for their own. They want to take what you have instead of working for their own. And some people never been taught how to work for their own.
The conversation. Some people's job is taking what you have.
That's what I'm saying. And so you got to protect yourself. You got to protect yourself. You got to be smarter. You got to protect yourself. And we, those advocates, and we have to understand, I said, if you don't understand what you're fighting, you can't fix it. Because you have to know that you're not, capitalism is at the center, which is a struggle, which is a part of white supremacy. It is as a result of white supremacy that we have capitalism in the world, right? And so understanding the systemic role, or the systemic part of it, and the role that it plays in everything that happens, how we don't like each other, light skin against dark skin, you know, black women against Latino women, black men fighting one another, black men, abusing black women not respecting black men. All of that is coming from something. This is not who we were. We didn't just wake up one day and this stuff has been ingrained in our mind for decades, because not decades, this is longer than decades. Right? This is hundreds of years, centuries, multiple centuries, right? And the reason why is because so long as they keep us weak and broken and separated from one another, then and only then can they continue to stay in power and in control. And somebody said, oh, a lot of people, oh God, they went off because I post on my social media, and I'm not like you, I'm not arguing. I just let them be mad and say what they want. I said what I said. I changed. Sometimes I go back, but I changed. You do a little bit. But I said what I said. That, oh, you're not talking about personal accountability. We got so much personal accountability every day we talk about personal accountability. We talking about that, but somebody also has to focus on what is the root cause. And I think a part of personal responsibility is to educate yourself on why you feel the way you feel about your brother or sister, or why you're able to pick up a gun, or why you want to rob somebody. That's a part of personal responsibility.
Facts.
You got to educate yourself.
Got to educate yourself.
So, let's talk to our next guest about this and many other things. So 19 years in the mortgage game, we're about to learn some things today. I really, really admire this brother. I follow him on social media, and every time I see him, he's so humble and nice and kind and just so caring and willing to share information. And a lot of the guys out here that's making a whole lot of money, because we know he's making a whole lot of money, a whole lot of money. They're not that nice. So, and I always tell you that. I'll be like, dude is just weird acting. Like,
There's a lot of weirdos. There's definitely
chips on their shoulders, but he's not like that. MG, the mortgage guy, Matthew Garland. First of all, do people even call you Matthew Garland? That's your whole government name in the street.
MG.
Yo, it's crazy because now people say MG or MG the mortgage guy, or they tell me my license number. So that's the crazy thing right now. Is like they were like, yo, NMLS number 123456789. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's crazy right now. But I love that, right? Because I'm not out here talking about any foolishness. I'm talking about things that can empower our community, and for people to recognize me as a licensed professional and run up on me like I'm a celebrity or a rapper or entertainer and want to take pictures and talk. I mean, it's very humbling. So it's a great thing. But no one calls me Matthew Garland no more.
Well, thank you so much for coming on Street Politicians today. We've been trying to do this for a while, and we have, for the last several months, really been trying to focus on the economic conditions of our community. We have a topic that we've been talking about today. We've been sort of not so much debating, but discussing, and we're going to get into that with you a little later. But I just want to say that I think that's a good thing for our culture, that we're shifting from just running up to the, regular entertainers, which, I have no problem with that. Sometimes I see people and I'm like, okay, this is a picture I want. It's rare, but I do. And we're shifting it to people wanting to be close to and connected to folks who have a consciousness, some level of consciousness. And so I think that's actually progress for us as Black folks, in this country. You talk.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, I agree with that. I definitely agree, watching, those who are thought leaders, who are investors, who are teaching the culture about financial literacy, about, ownership and things of that nature becoming the new stars. I just was at InvestFest, which you were a part of, and I seen just watching how many people were there, just seeing how big, just financial literacy and just Black empowerment and Black wealth is becoming in this country. So, I'm happy for you, proud of you. I follow you, I watch and see all the things that you do. And, I just continue to do what you're doing, man. What made you want to get involved in this? Like, how long have you been doing this work?
Oh, man. So I've been in the mortgage business going on 20 years now. So when I first came into business, there wasn't no social media. There was no Facebook. There was no Instagram. There was nothing like the platforms like we have today. And there was barely any Black people here doing any type of real estate. And the Black people who did do real estate, they kept it quiet, right? We all know those type of people in our communities who getting money, but they never want to share the information on how they getting money. So when I came into business, I had to learn the hard way through trial and error, and wins and losses. But I like to get those losses all turned into lessons. And just the whole social media thing, once I discovered like Gary Vee and those guys, probably back in like 2016, 17, I'm like, damn, they on to something. And, I'm 44 years old, so I'm getting a little bit older too. So I said, you know what? How can I reach the younger generation, especially in my community, with the information that I have? And that's why I started coming to social media and just started putting that information out there. And it's just kind of grown to what we see now. To, we're doing things like InvestFest. Shout out to my partners, Troy and Rashad and Mike at Earn Your Leisure. 14,000 Black and brown people for financial literacy. You would never think in a million years you would see that many people in a space to learn about financial literacy, business, real estate, stocks. So it's just been an incredible journey that we're all proud of. And we just want to keep championing our community and keep pushing things forward.
Well, first, I want to say I was very much inspired and motivated, by the Invest Fest and just listening to you guys and just hearing how you was just giving so much jewels and motivation. It was very much inspirational. I told her, I was like, listen, we got to get focused. Like, people is out here focused. We doing a lot. We do a lot of work for our people, but we got to really get financially focused and make real big decisions and get into that space. So I just want to say thank you for that.
No, I appreciate y'all. It was great seeing you guys there, man. And it's great to see just people that we've watched. Look, we love hip hop, right? We grew up in the culture, right? So when we seeing folks like yourself there, TI's there, many different people that's just we've watched for years, and now it's the two worlds are now starting to collide. It's just a beautiful thing, and we love it, and we just want to keep doing our part to get that message out there to teach people, but also not just to give them information, but show them the way how they can execute, right? Because that's most important. Because I think too many times people get analysis paralysis. They'll sit here and watch videos all day or study, but never make a move. And one thing about us, we don't just want you to be motivated, inspired. We want you to go out there and do something, because in our community, we have to own some shit. We have to go out here and build our wealth, because we're behind the 8 ball already. So we're glad that people come out, they're motivated, but if you're not out here executing, then it's really all for nothing. You're just being entertained at that point.
Yeah. Well, and I think the way we all are being intentional in this generation as well, whether it be in the social justice space, in the political space, and of course, in the other spaces that you're in that have to do with our well-being, right? People are being more intentional about making it look like what the culture loves. Because in the past, all the people who were doing the things we're talking about, and it's not a knock, right? And maybe they were fitting into that particular time, but it doesn't translate over, right? Like it's and that's why you have people like Kirk Franklin and Ty Tibbet, I think is the proper way to say his name, and others like that. And it doesn't mean a Bishop Jakes is outdated, but he's definitely bringing Sarah Jakes, his daughter, to the forefront, because as generations come forward, people want to see things and hear words and language that really relates to them. And I think that's an intentional thing that we all have to work on every day. And there's some people that don't get it. They're like, oh, you guys, why y'all dressed like this? Or how come you posting this type of, for me, everybody wants to know, why did you post pictures in your bathing suit? And I always say, I'm not trying to reach my mother's generation, right? I want to partner with them. I want to learn from them. I'm not saying they're not important, because they have the wisdom, but I'm trying to reach a particular demo that understands that language, right? I get more interest from people who see me in a vulnerable or very authentic space. So I think we've been intentional about that, and that helps. But now, speaking of that, go back before this 20-year period and tell us more about what were you doing in your life? Like, what exactly was happening that you was like, oh, this is the way that I'm going to go? You could have done other things. Obviously, you're brilliant.
I mean, for me, look, I grew up in Brooklyn, but I represent Queens. I went to Andrew Jackson High School. That's, I'm a Queens guy, right, through and through. So I was like anybody, right? My family's either drug dealers or drug users. You see what I'm saying? So I grew up a certain type of way in the 80s in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. So I'm around hustlers my whole life. But also, you know, and this is why I say I'm a Queens guy, because Brooklyn to me those years was pain. My mother's a crackhead. I have uncles who was on drugs. I have uncles that were drug dealers. I have cousins. We all got cousins that was murderers and killers and robbers and all that stuff, right? So for me, when I was younger, all I saw was the hustle. So it's always deeply embedded into me. But I knew that's the route I didn't want. I didn't want to go the street route, because I knew it led to nothing, because I'm seeing people my age getting killed. I'm seeing people my age going to jail. And for me, I don't want no parts of jail. I want nothing to do with it, right? So coming up, I really didn't know what I was going to do. I went to college, but I was a college dropout. You know, I went to a historical black college, NCCU, in North Carolina, and it was just like a hustle, just trying to figure it out, throwing parties, doing this, doing that, just trying to make ends meet. And I got back to New York right after 9/11, and I started working for TSA. And I thought, okay, you know what? Let me get the federal job. Let me get the benefits. You know, 50,000 a year. Why not, right? And then my best friend at the time, well, not at the time, still my best friend, but my best friend told me, look, why don't you go get into the mortgage business and be a loan officer? I said, what the hell is that? He said, you know, when people want to buy a house, they need a loan. And the loan officer is the one who gets them a loan. So I looked in the paper. This is before you can go on the internet and look for jobs. Like, I really went in the daily news. And I used to do customer service jobs. I used to do salesman jobs. And I saw all these jobs for loan officers. And I'm like, damn, I never noticed this. So I just picked the first 3 companies that was close to my house. And I went on interviews and I got hired. And I've been doing it ever since. So I didn't know what a loan was when I first got in the business. No one teaches us about home ownership. No one teaches us about credit. So I never thought this was a field that you can apply for. I thought this was something only the bank could do, and you need to have a master's degree to work in quote unquote banking, right? So yeah, I was kind of like anybody else, you know, late teens, early 20s, that was just trying to figure it out. And thank God that I found something that kind of stuck to me, and it became my passion, just learning numbers. I never knew I really loved numbers. I never knew that I loved making other people happy, because you have to be self-servant in a way when you're doing a job like this, because I kind of compare myself to a therapist, because I'm always hearing somebody's stories. I'm always hearing I'm taking somebody's energy and emotions. So it's just something that I grew into, and now I just love it, and I just want to keep doing it. So, you know, to answer your question, I didn't know what the hell I was going to do, to keep it real, before I got into this business. I'm thank God that I found it, because it changed my life, and I've been able to change other people's lives in the past 20 years.
So what is the first step? Like, somebody wants to get into doing mortgage and loans and all this. Like, what? Because most of us, and I realize that we have fear. We have the starting fear. Like, we see it as it's this biggest thing in the world, and I have to get out my own way with things like that. Things that I'm not familiar with, and I look and I hear y'all talk about a lot of different things, and I'd be like, yeah, it's gonna be too hard for me. It's gonna be too much. I'm gonna have to go through all of these things. So what is that first initial thing that you do that can tell somebody who's got that mind state, like, to just do that first?
So me personally, I think everybody should explore getting their real estate license or getting their loan officer license, because it's not expensive. First and foremost, right? To get your loan officer license may cost you $500, if that. You have to take a 25-hour class. You pass that class, then you pass the federal exam, and then you can submit your application to get your license, but then you have to get sponsored by a bank. And there's plenty of banks out here, mortgage broker companies out here, that will take a chance with someone who wants to learn the business. So it doesn't take too much time. And to get your real estate license, I think it's 70 hours that you have to commit to, and that's a couple $100 as well. And you see there's thousands of people with real estate licenses, right? But anybody can get licensed. Right? That's the easy part. I think to actually now perform and do well at your job and become successful, you have to dedicate the time to educate yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, one of the mistakes that I first made when I came in this business, I didn't take the time to learn my history about real estate or learn my history about finances and things of that nature. I was just run and gun. I just wanted to make money. I see these people in the offices making $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 a month, and I'm looking at them like, yo, if these clowns could do it, so can I. So I'ma just hustle. Right, that's all I knew. But I would tell anybody else who's coming into this business today, you got to take the time to learn. You got to study your guidelines, because you're dealing with people's livelihood. You're dealing with their life, and you don't want to mess nobody up. So once you get your license is one thing, but I think self-education Google's your best friend. YouTube University. There's a lot of paid courses and things of that nature where you can deepen your knowledge base of this business to go out there and be successful.
So how did you also at some point realize that you needed to learn about discrimination, like redlining and all of that within the industry as well, so that you could help to overcome the barriers that Black and brown people face when they go for mortgages?
To be honest, keep it a buck with you guys. No, in the beginning, again, I just wanted to make money. That's all I cared about. And the wild cowboy days is when I came in this business, the subprime crisis, right? You needed a post to get a loan at that time. So for me, and I was taught by ex-Wall Street guys, the guys who got kicked off of Wall Street and they could just go in the mortgage business because there was no regulation. You didn't need a license at that time. So we were taught, when I came in, I was taught by savages, to be honest with you. So everybody was a dollar sign. I didn't care who you were. My thing is, how much money can I make off the deal? But when the market started crashing, I didn't have the education and the background to understand what I was doing was actually wrong, right? And karma has no expiration date. I lost everything during the crash. I lost property. I lost everything. I even lost my mental, right? It was one point in time I wanted to kill myself because my existence at that time was tied to materialistic items. You come from the hood, you don't have no money, then you making all this money, you buying cars, you buying bottles, you going out, and then when you can't do it no more, it's like, damn. Like, what the hell is going on? I'm a loser. Yeah, I'm a loser now, right? So when I lost everything, that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me because it made me sit down and kind of learn the business. So when I got my mind back right, I started learning about redlining. I started learning about discriminating. I started learning, like, damn, how could they even allow us to do these type of loans, especially to people that look like us, knowing damn well we don't even have the financial education. And I am a person sitting here originating these loans, and I don't even have the education. I'm not even that qualified to give the loans that I was given, right? So that's what really made me say, you know what, I got to do this business different. I got to learn how to deepen a relationship with the person. I got to learn how to value their needs because it's not about the money that I'm going to make. It's about if I help you reach your goals, the money is going to come. So that's when I really started paying attention to the history and things of that nature and started realizing the wealth gap that our community has in real estate. And now that's why you guys, what I'm talking about now is stuff I was talking about 10 years ago, just to my client base of people who knew me, especially to Black people, because now I'm dealing with people who are affluent. I used to work for Chase and I was on Wall Street. So I'm dealing with hedge fund guys and this, that, and the third. And I'm seeing how they're structuring their loans and their business. And I see how when my people come in, they're not thinking about having all these different trusts and things of that nature. So I started taking the information I was learning on Wall Street and just passing it down to my people. And they still couldn't really understand what I was saying.
Right.
But I still was like, I was talking about it. And now that's where you see me today is I preach, generational wealth. I preach life insurance. I preach setting up trust, making sure you're doing things the right thing, making sure you can afford the home because it doesn't matter what the bank will give you. That eligibility for a loan doesn't mean shit if you can't afford to make those payments, right? And that's very important because these banks will give you a loan. They don't care. They're waiting for you. They're waiting for your downfall.
Right.
Yeah, they're waiting for your downfall. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I want to preach affordable home ownership. I want people, if you're going to go out here and you're going to take debt on, make sure you can pay it. Even if you're buying rental properties, these tenants ain't guaranteed to pay you anything. You better make sure you have that money to pay the mortgage because these people want their money, regardless of what you're going through. So the discrimination and our time that we've been on earth, Black people, is just ridiculous, especially when it comes to lending, like the redlining. I mean, even look at the deeds back in the day. In the 60s, in the 50s, and the 60s, the deeds were written in that people of color couldn't buy in these areas. And it was perfectly legal. Like, it is crazy once you start doing the history. So I'm a home ownership advocate. I tell my people, look, I'm okay if you rent, but you need to have a plan to go out there and buy something because there's people that look like us that fought for us to get to the point to where we are today to be able to go out here and own and buy. In the 50s and 60s, they couldn't do it as freely as we are. So why are we sitting here not pushing ourselves to go out here and own?
So, and that's beautiful, man, because a lot of people don't think that way. A lot of people, like I said, a lot of people are scared. So what do you think are the two biggest mistakes that people make when they purchasing homes or trying to purchase a home?
I think first of all, mentally they're not mature enough. Right? This is a responsibility. Owning a home, as quick as you get the home, you can lose it. I think people only think about the mortgage payment, but you got utility bills. You got maintenance of the house. Hell, you got daycare if you have kids. And it takes a certain level of maturity to pay your bills on time.
Maintenance of the house, Lord Jesus.
It's not.
It's crazy.
It's
Like something
crazy.
is always breaking. We were just talking earlier about the stairs and a hole over here, and then extermination because during certain seasons the water bugs get in.
hmm
It's a lot that
It's
happens with a
and
house.
and you have to be mature to handle that stuff,
Mhm.
right? And your mind has to be right. And there's a lot of people out here that's immature. So the first step is I always tell people you have to make sure that you are mentally prepared for home ownership. Because if you're not, that shit can ruin your whole appetite of even wanting to own a home. So number one, get your mind right. Number two, always credit. You have to have your credit right. If your credit ain't right, you're not going to get anything. And if you are able to get something, you're going to get the worst interest rates, you're going to get the worst terms, and it's going to be more expensive for you. And number three, as a bonus, my son, I would tell you, you need to have some money. Right? Just like Tamika just said, something's happening, something's breaking. You need to be able to pay for it, and you can't just always rely on credit cards because now you're falling into that matrix, that debt matrix, where you're never going to get out of that cycle if you always swiping. And it's good to swipe to get your points and everything like that, but you need to have that capital, that cash to pay that thing off right away. So that way you're not sitting here falling behind the eight ball. So those will probably be the most three important things that I would tell people: mind right, credit, money right, and then the world is yours.
Well, when you think about when people think about mortgages and buying property, they automatically think of houses, grass on the outside, driveway. But there's also condos, right? There are other things that you might need because I don't know if I would if today I had to go out and buy something, I'm not sure that I would buy houses. I think I would buy, and I'm talking about for me to physically live in. I live in a house now, but I'm saying if I was moving, I probably would want to go somewhere and buy a condo that I don't have all the responsibility of the grounds. So, and I know my parents, the same thing for them. Like they just didn't want that responsibility, so they chose to go in the route of the apartment. So, is that something that you also suggest for people who might not be mentally or financially ready for the responsibility of the grounds to keep their grounds?
Yeah, I tell everybody you have to do what's right and what's best for you. You only know what you can handle and what you can't handle. And owning a single family property is just not for everybody. Hell, even owning investment properties or multifamilies is not for everybody. Not everybody's meant to be a landlord. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
And
right,
it
right.
takes, you got to be cut from a certain cloth to be able to deal with tenants and property managers and things of that nature. So I'm not one of these people. And if you look on the internet, especially in the real estate space, a lot of people will condemn you buying a single family home or buying a condo. Me personally, I say black people just need to go buy something. You know what I'm saying? 58% of our community is renters. So I don't care if you're buying a condo. I don't care if you're buying a single family or multifamily. Make sure you understand your terms that you're getting yourself involved in. Make sure you can afford it no matter what property type that you're purchasing, because we want to sustain the home ownership. We don't want to just have it for a year or two, and then year three, you struggling, you living paycheck to paycheck, and it's not good for you. So I'm all for it. Like, you know what you want, Tamika. So why not go get a condo? Shit, get the with the amenities, with the everything
Right,
that you
right.
need is all built in. So you good. Why not?
That's right. That's right.
But just be
That's
smart.
dope.
Just be smart about it because it's easy to lose
Because
money.
there's fees. That's the other thing people don't realize. You buy it and then there's still fees. What is it called? Your
Ma-
assessments
yeah, your
that you have to
maintenance
pay to be in the
fees.
nice building.
Yeah, you
They
got your
get you one way or the other.
no, those maintenance fees and HOA fees, those things add up. Like, even for just talking about fees, right? You got to think about your property taxes and your homeowners insurance too. That goes up annually. As homes are appreciating, your property taxes are going to go up. And what I try to tell people is, hey, when your mortgage payment today, you might be in a 30-year fixed rate and your principal interest payment may not change, But your escrow payment, which is your taxes and insurance, that will change annually. So if your houses are appreciating, guess what? The town is going to reassess your house every year, and they're going to raise your taxes because that's how they make money, right? And that's going to drive your payment up. Your homeowner's insurance, these insurance companies could be kind of crooked a little bit. They'll raise your insurance $2,000, $3,000 after year one. And you're like, what the hell you raise my insurance for? So you have to be mindful and pay attention to these things. Although the bank might be managing the payment of it, you have to make sure that you are paying attention, because you can always fire the insurance company and go get a new insurance company to keep your payment low. But your property taxes, you can't. So all these fees you have to take into consideration when you get into home ownership.
Wow.
Thanks. So, this entrepreneurship mortgage loan, how does that work, and do you think it's a good thing?
Yeah, so the entrepreneur loan, there's different variations of it, but the most popular is when you use your bank statements to qualify you. You use those deposits over the past 12 months versus using your tax returns by going with like a traditional, conventional mortgage. So it's a good program. I originate that program to a lot of entrepreneurs because let's face it, the tax code is built for business owners, right? And most business owners are not, even if they make a gross $1 million, they're not going to show their net is $1 million, because who wants to pay taxes on $1 million? You're going to show as little as possible to keep your tax bill down. But when you do that, you now are possibly disqualifying yourself from going the traditional route where you can get a cheaper interest rate. So these entrepreneurs serve a purpose and a need for those entrepreneurs who are taking full advantage of the tax code to still go out there and buy real estate. But you have to understand it's going to come at a higher interest rate than a traditional. So like right now today, the conventional mortgages is right around 6.25% where this entrepreneur loan might be 7.5% on a 30-year fix. But the entrepreneur who's making money, who's doing what they have to do, that might be more advantageous for them to go that route, because it still might be cheaper payment wise versus them paying 2, 3, 400,000 in taxes, just depending on how much income they're growing in. So it's a great product, and I encourage entrepreneurs and business owners to continue to look into all the options that are available, because most think they can't buy a home, and you can. There's a lot of business owners out here taking full advantage of these programs.
Thanks for that. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that I'm glad you asked that question, because I'm sure there are entrepreneurs who that's going to be really important to them. Because as you said, most people, they think they have to wait 3 years and file their taxes and have a certain number and do all of these things. I didn't even know you could use your bank statements as a way to apply. And yeah, it's a high interest rate, but you can refinance at a later period when you may have the necessary documentation from a tax perspective, right?
Absolutely. So what I tell everybody is this. It's a quick little hack that I try to tell people, right? If you are an entrepreneur, you've been in business for 5 years, and let's just say you use your bank statements just as your the entrepreneur loan with the bank statement program to get into the house, and you get a 7.5%. Let's just say, for example. Now you make sure you file your taxes the right way, so that way when you're able to refinance, if you have 5 years in business, then conventional loans will only require 1 year tax returns, and we won't go back 2 or 3 years. So you can now use that fresh new tax return that's showing all the income and all the years that you were kind of deducting everything. We won't even use that. So now when you use the entrepreneur loan, because everything you have to have an exit strategy. Right? You can't go into something thinking I'm gonna be here and I'm staying comfortable. No, you have to have a plan to action. So what I try to do is set my clients up for the purchase and then the refinance to get out of it. So now you can save money and get down to a market rate. So that's a quick tip for any entrepreneurs that's gonna watch this. If you use this entrepreneur loan, make sure that same calendar year when you go file your taxes, make sure you file it the right way. So that way you might, and you're gonna have to pay some taxes, right? And there's nothing wrong with paying Uncle Sam, right? Pay those taxes, because now you're gonna be able to leverage that tax return to refinance, but also you can still now leverage that tax return to buy more real estate and invest and get the cheapest money that's available in the market, and that's we're going with a conventional mortgage. So it just really depends on what that person's goals are and what they're really trying to accomplish in real estate.
So we have to wrap up, and I know also we need to let you get back to your business. But one thing I want to make sure we say in this spot is that it's important for people to express their plan to everybody they work with. Because at one point, my banker, I had one set of conversations over there, and then something else with the accountant, and something else with, different individuals. And since people didn't understand my plan, and I felt like, at one point, I felt like I work for these folks, right? Like they're too busy to listen to me, and I need to talk quick and hurry up and get things done. And then when I learned that, wait a minute, they're here for my benefit, then I was able to explain to everyone working around me, even the credit specialist that helped me get my credit straight. Shout out to Quincy from Credit Concepts, was Mysonne's friend. That when I first met him, I was like, I don't know about this, Mysonne. And he's like, nah, he's good peoples. And now, my whole family has worked with Quincy. And now that everybody understands what I'm trying to do, we're on the right track. From my credit cards, with my banking, with my banker, she understands what we're trying to do. So it's just important for people to have the right conversations and express to people what your goals are, so that a collective plan can happen. I want to shift real quick because we gotta make sure that we get your take on our topic. Obviously everyone has been really upset about not just PNB Rock, which is horrible, a horrible, horrible, horrible situation, young man. For the last few days, between my son and my own child and other men, even my dad, who's a 75-year-old man, there's been such a level of, I don't know, just depression, feeling of defeat. I can't really speak for you all, but I can see it, the pain that rests in this young man losing his life. And my son said something to me the other day. He said, Mom, when I open social media, I get depressed, because it's just so many people dying. And it is not just him. We've been taking hit after hit after hit after hit with artists. I was mentioning to my son that the athletes, we keep seeing people dying over there. Then in the community, you've got everything from police violence to regular violence to we watching videos of women getting beat. It's just a lot going on, right? And TMZ asked me, do I think that rappers are in danger? And I said, I think black people are in danger. I think black men have always been an endangered species. And I talked about our economic condition. And if we don't figure out how to make sure we get resources into the least of these hands, we're going to continue to see what's happening now, the PNB Rock situation, and worse. It's not to say that I don't understand jealousy and we got all of that. But even all of that comes from something. It's the root of another issue. Because most of the people we know that got a job, they making money, they doing what they need to do, they're able to take care of their families. They're not just around shooting and killing people. So the question, that's the topic we've been talking about today. And we just want to get your take. Like, how do you see your role? And do you feel like what you do every day, if more of us get on board with it, it will help us to address some of the violence and other issues that we see in our community?
Yeah, I mean, first, man, rest in peace to PNB Rock. I mean, it's just a terrible incident. You're going to get waffles with your girl and you lose your life. It's pretty sad, man. And it's the have and have nots, that spread is widening right now, especially in the black community. And I think what we do is extremely important because, no one was talking about stocks, real estate, these things, financial literacy, business ownership, credit. 20 years ago when I first came in this business, especially in our community, these wasn't topics of conversations in the hood, and in my hood, we were talking about going out, we were talking about buying throwback jerseys. You see what I'm saying? So I think what we do is extremely important because now it shows people there's another way to make money. You don't have to go rob somebody. If you have that entrepreneur spirit, because let's face it, most of these people who are doing these crimes, they have an entrepreneur spirit. They're just using that to something different the wrong way. And if you now show them the way of, hey, instead of you going out here robbing somebody, you can take $200 and put it into the stock market and learn how to trade and make money. Yes, it's not going to be quick and fast like you're doing some crimes, but it's something that's legal and it can grow and sustain the stuff over time. So we do our best to try to talk to the youth. We give them, a lot of free information. We let them into our private communities because we don't want to see our young brothers and sisters continue to go down this route. We want them to excel because they're our future, right? And if they're killing everybody, we're not going to have a future as Black people, right? So what we do is very important, especially when it comes to home ownership. And this is why I put out so much content, just to then try to encourage, the teenagers. I have 2 teenagers myself, and all I do is speak power into them. They love you, by the way, Tamika.
Yeah, I love you.
So like
Your son your daughter is too cool. She was like, hi, but your son was like, what's good?
Yeah. He was on it, but that's why I had them at Invest Fest. I'm
Mhm.
having them in the room, and that's important too, right? Proximity. There's power in proximity, and this is why I have my children at Invest Fest, meeting people like yourself in the room, seeing Black people that look like them that are not athletes for the most part, and things of that nature. They're out here business owners. They're running businesses legitimately and doing right by the community. And now I want them, they're inspiring to be entrepreneurs. So I would say anybody out there who's watching this, if you know any young people, you're doing anything good, bring them on as a free intern. You never know. That could probably change somebody's whole path and direction in your life. And we all have a responsibility to our youth to kind of try to bring them up. And that's why I love what my son doing. He always calling them out, right? It's important because we need someone to speak up because we're all thinking the same thing. My son is just the one who's not scared to say it and say it with a very loud voice. So I appreciate.
Don't encourage him.
No, it's needed, man. He be outside talking, but he's talking a talk that needs, because we're all thinking it, right? But we're not all the time saying it or saying it in the way that my son is saying it. So I think what we're all doing is very important to try to change that trajectory. Unfortunately, these things will continue to happen. I think until we get gun laws, kind of, situated in this country, these things unfortunately, it's going to continue to happen.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for what it is that you do, man. It's very much needed. It is something that is evolving the culture, and I love watching you guys continuously push. Y'all push the envelope. Like I have my role, like you said. I know I've been in the streets and I've contributed to a lot of negativity in our communities, right? And as you grow as a man and you evolve, then you realize, and then you have to take ownership of that, right? So when you see that same negativity being imposed in the community, you have to call it out. You have to be one of those people who speak from authority, who is a credible messenger, who's been in those rooms, who has levels of notoriety in the streets, and you have to speak up against things that we know is not right. So watching our youth get killed every day, it bothers me. Watching our youth kill each other, because actually you're just killing yourself. We at war in so many different fronts, and when we taking the time to kill our own soldiers, then we definitely can't win the war. So just keep on empowering us, keep educating us, keep giving us that knowledge that we need. Hopefully we'll make $1 billion like you. You know what I'm saying? That's the goal, and we'll be financially stable and generational wealth, man. So just keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate you. We want to be. I got way more questions, but we'll do this another day, man. We got to just have a lot more sit downs with you, man. Keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate you. Thanks for gracing us with your presence.
Yes. Thanks for joining Street Politicians, brother.
Thanks for having me. Y'all keep up the good work, and whatever I can do to help any one of y'all, I'm here for y'all. Thank y'all.
Thank you, man. I just need a loan about $2 million.
Whatever you need, man. We got it. We got money to lend, baby.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
MG the mortgage
MG the mortgage guy. Tell them where to follow you. Tell them where they can find you.
Oh, so y'all can tap in with me, MG the mortgage guy, again on all platforms: Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Rants and Gems is my real estate podcast, which is actually the #1 real estate podcast in the Black and Brown community. Shout out to my co-host, Kiana Watson. You can watch us every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Earn Your Leisure's YouTube channel and on all podcast audio outlets. So it's free game. So come get all the free game that we're giving out and learn about real estate. And hopefully we see you guys at the closing table.
Yes, you will. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Peace. Another dope interview, man. MG, the mortgage guy. You know, dope guy. He always,
So
like you said,
cool.
yeah, he always has dope energy. Every time I see him, he always gives this warm energy. He's asked like, yo, when we gonna do something, you know. So this
He's
is
very you like all black people, not all black people. Let me not say that because that is not true. Ask. I say it too. It's ask.
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 Ask. Ask.
See?
Ask.
Ask. I say that too.
Let me ask you, man. Let me ask you something. Can I ask you something?
You like
Can
it.
I ask you?
You like it, ask.
I like ask though.
You know what I like about MG? He flows with when he's talking. Like we've talked to people and I've had conversations with folks and it's like, I'm not sure that they're sure. Now some people, because even me, when I'm speaking in certain forums, I have, you know, like especially if I get nervous or if I feel like, you know, I might, you know, I feel like somebody else might know more than me and I'm trying to like listen and learn from them and then somebody's like, oh, what do you think, Tamika? I'm like, I don't need to talk. They know, right? Like, so that happens. We can get tongue twisted and whatnot. But I noticed, but I like the fact that he's so confidently clear about every single
It's
point.
experience. You can tell
He's experienced.
He's mastered his craft, you know. After 19 years and, you know, really investing in himself, learning. Like he said, he had to go through a lot. He lost everything for him to really sit and learn the business.
That seems to be the story of so many successful people, and of course we focus on our people, that at one point or another we lost everything. We both have our own stories, individual stories. Mine is clearly not as dramatic as yours. Well, you know, it's not as dramatic in that I didn't spend time in prison, but you can become a prisoner within your own right, like in your home to yourself. I was certainly a prisoner to prescription drugs. So, you know, all of us, it's like you go through these really tough, it's almost like God has to humble and focus you on whatever, because sometimes I think we get caught up in what we think we're supposed to be doing and where we're supposed to be and the plan that is our plan. And we lose sight of the fact that there was a plan already set forward for us, and that's the plan we need to focus on.
They say that all the time. You want to make God laugh? You tell him your plans. You know, and one of the things that I believe wholeheartedly is that every great man, woman, or that I know has experienced some level of seclusion. You know, where they had to be by themselves, they separated from area, and they had to look within themselves and dig deep and get more of an understanding of themselves. You know, so, you know, his situation is no different than my situation. You know, so when you lose everything, you know, I unfortunately had to be behind bars in a cell to lose everything. He was out here and lost everything. So
Wow.
it's that mind state that you realize that, damn, everything I had has just been taken away. And then you got to say to yourself, what am I willing to do? Am I just going to say that's what it is? Or am I going to say, you know, that's it? They say a person is not defined by where they are at times of comfort and convenience. You know, it's times of controversy.
Yeah, pain.
And pain is when you really define who you are. So shout out to MG, man. Dope.
Yeah, I like him. You know, when I say I like somebody, I'm like, okay, now we can figure out how to integrate his voice more into what we do. Like I could see us touring and having him to be a speaker regularly because I think he resonates. And you know, and I, you know, obviously we love Earn Leisure. We love all our guys, but everybody's very, very busy. And I'm sure he's busy too. But 20 years later, there's got to be something about being community driven. I can tell. We can listen to, you know, it coming from him that he's saying he wants to do more. So anyway, I think, you know, I think we talked about him being the mortgage guy, but then he starts talking about insurance because it all ties together. The insurance, trust.
Yeah, you got to know those things. If you sell a mortgage and you selling houses and all that, then you have to be able to
know all the
inform.
things. Why do people not understand that?
Oh no, listen. You can't. Like you have to do your research. You have to understand historical value, the historical understanding of everything that you do. It's just like even with music. I tell people all the time, you don't just pick up rap. You study. There are people who've been doing this before. You gotta listen. You listen to different jazz. You listen to blues. You listen to country. You listen to soul, and then you take those pieces and then you create your own with the pieces that's already been there. So that's what he seems like a real student of the game, man. So shout out to him.
Well, shout out to him.
Now that brings me to my I don't get it. And it's pretty much on course with our topic of the day. Once again, R.I.P. to PNB Rock.
That's so sad.
Really cool dude, man.
So young.
Our sister Jamila had introduced us and had us in schools in Jersey, and he was a real humble dude. Told me how he loved my work, and we said we was gonna work together. He was real down to earth, real cool dude, man. So that's just a tragedy that he lost his life that way. But what I don't get, really
What
don't
you get?
And I was in the hood arguing with dudes yesterday. Somehow, people have taken the position that they're going to blame this man's child's mother, girlfriend, or whatever they classify themselves as. I don't really know the classification, but they blamed her for what happened to him based on IG post that she had put up.
So is she the one that took the picture of the waffles?
She took a picture of the waffle, and I guess it showed his location. And people are saying based on that is how the robber pretty much knew where he was or whatever. And nobody knows that, right? You understand what I'm saying? And even if they did, I know that this wasn't something that she purposely did. And there are people who have conspiracy that say, oh, she wanted insurance money, it goes to, and it's like, it's so sad.
It's so sad.
It's so, I can understand the trauma that this woman has to be dealing with. To be at first to lose someone you love in front of your face, right? To watch somebody you love shot down in front of your face, the father of your child shot down in front of your face. And then to go to this stupid ass social media and hear people blame you. Like people who don't know you, just literally on there blaming you. And it's disgusting to me. I don't get it. I don't understand the mind state of people. For me, it's like that lady is dealing with enough trauma. Like she's dealing with so much trauma that it doesn't even make sense to me that people would put her through any more trauma to have to be blamed and have like she did something intentionally that caused the death of someone that she loved.
Well, it's funny. Ironically, Mia J, who is the wife of Young Dolph, the mother of his children, she first of all went off on, and by the way, Mia's my friend, so it's funny because she's so, she talks and everything, but she's really pretty reserved and quiet and out the way. But she went off and called people all kinds of names behind that situation. She was saying that the people on the trolls on the internet are just as bad as the shooters. You're disgusting. You want to stress a person out who's already going through a lot. Like, she was saying a whole bunch of things. So I text her and I said, well, tell us how you really feel, Mia. And I'm on a text thread with Mia J, Angela Simmons, and Nicole Bell. Nicole Bell is the wife of Sean Bell. Angela Simmons, we know the Simmons family, but Angela's son's father was murdered. And then, of course, Mia J. And the four of us have been talking about how to, just support one another and others. Just a very informal text thread that we love and we pour into. And as I was saying with Mia, and it was funny to me that she was like kicking ass because she's, this is not really how she does publicly. And Nicole Bell said, Mia, are you okay? And it stopped me in my tracks because I bought it, for us to say these clowns, and talk shit. And Nicole stopped the conversation and said, Mia, are you okay? Because in that moment, Nicole knew that for her to go to such an extent to speak publicly in that way using profanity and everything, something triggered her, right? And she sent us screenshots of people saying that she set up Young Dolph.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? So it's just a sick, it's really a sickness. The internet is sick. And it's sad because I want to say it's trolls and it's people that's not even real and da-da-da-da. But then it be your own people. Yeah. It's family members.
Unfortunately, these people actually exist.
They really do exist, and they have, like, yo, for real, this is my thing. And I saw what Cardi said. She's like, first of all, I doubt anybody was watching her Instagram. But let's keep it a buck. Let's just say they were.
Yeah.
Let's say they were. Or what happens when you go live when you in the club? Are you trying to set up your friends and family members? When you in the club and you live, when you posting that you went to this restaurant and that restaurant and you this place and that place, people do that every day. This is not a new phenomenon. Like, what are you talking about?
Social media has created, and I think.
And these are young people, by the way. So that's what they do.
The culture is people. They take pictures of where they.
They take pictures of their food. Now you should post it once you leave. But even I get caught sometimes. I forget. I was at Brooklyn Chop House the other night, and I'm just waiting. Again, I was waiting for Mia J. I was waiting for her and my family member, Jessica. And I'm just sitting there, and since I'm waiting, I'm just taking pictures, looking at the lighting, doing whatever I want to do, giving myself, what you call it, entertaining myself. And before I know it, I posted the picture and tagged where I was. And didn't even think about, oh shit, I really need to leave. And I generally do, but sometimes it just happens. In fact, I'm gonna tell you, my son, you could flip it on the head. It was, to me, this was actually probably a very innocent moment that they was just eating waffles and chicken. And she like, look at us, we just eating waffles and chicken. Probably not even thinking about the implications of the jury and the haters and the this and all this other stuff. Just waffles and chicken, just a moment, So I'm just trying to figure out what's so different about that moment than when they in the club with the bottles and everything and they live.
I just think we just got to do better, man. I think people have to take time. Social media has given voices to people who actually don't deserve voices, right? They make people's opinion matter that don't matter. You understand?
And then it puts things in other people's minds, and now you got.
And it turns into a topic, turns into shit.
Yeah.
Like we even have
it's
to
sad.
discuss this.
It's so sad.
Right? The fact that
Kodak Black says she should kill herself. I'm like, really?
Wow, I didn't even know he said no.
Yeah,
shit
like really?
Like,
I'm gonna go look and find it. It's just really.
Sometimes, sometimes we just gotta be mindful. People gotta you just gotta shut up, man. If he says some stupid shit, like, you just gotta shut up.
I think I saw it on one of these platforms. I'm getting ready to find it for you because I really want you to see it.
The problem is that we celebrate ignorance like that, right? We push that. That's clickbait. That's gonna be on every site. People gonna want to hear about it.
And I saw people liking it and everything, and I'm like, wow. Like, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Listen, it's sad.
It goes back to what we say, man. Black woman is the most disrespected and unprotected, man. Woman lost her man in front of her eyes. In front of her eyes, and she's being blamed, and people say she need to kill herself. I just think we got to do better. We have to do better. We have to have grace. We have to have empathy. We gotta deal with each other with a different level of love, man. So once again, my condolences goes out to her daughter, his family.
Yep, it was Kodak Black. It says that it says he appears to blame the girlfriend, but he doesn't appear to blame her. He specifically says, let me get to the quote, that hoe might as well kill herself. And that's just like, I don't know, and I mean, we know Kodak Black and who he is and the type of stuff that he says. So this is not like unusual.
It's not far-fetched.
It's not. But
what's sad is that it's celebrated, right?
But I wouldn't even post that if I was.
But they would though.
Whoever.
But that's the era we are, right? And what happens, what that does, it does two things, right? It creates a rift between her and him. Loved ones, people that love her, feel some type of way about what they said about him, right? It gets trolls to get on there and feed in and
start threatening her. You never know.
So it causes real situations, and it's like, For what?
And yo, why
it's
are we
already,
not?
It's already, we not even taking the time to really just mourn the young man.
But what? This is
and
my thing,
uplift
though.
him, and she has to raise his daughter.
Why don't we have anything in us that makes us say, "Let me sit back"? I don't really know this for sure, so I might not.
I'm not
be
even gonna
say that.
Because we don't. That's not what the internet ever does. The internet makes your opinion a fact. People who can barely read have opinions that turn into facts that they know nothing about. You know,
it's sad. It's really, really sad. But I don't know. I just, like I said, are you okay? That's what hit me to my core. Like, there's real people attached to these stories and these people who are fallen victims in our community, and I don't know. I mean, I'm glad we've been talking about it the whole time, so we won't rehash it. It was a good show, though.
Dope show, man. Shout out to MG, our guy, Matthew Garland, for dropping the jewels, educating us about mortgage and the things we need to know. Shout out to you for coming on the show, doing your thing.
Doing what I do.
Doing what you do, making it the #1 show in the world.
Thank you, Lord Jesus.
Number one.
Anyway,
Listen.
That's why people are like, oh, they're already #1, so we don't need to download
Nah, you got to download it because we #1. People want to download the #1 show. Make sure you go get the downloads.
You just keep saying
Let us know what you feel. If you love our show, if you hate our show, if you got any ideas for topics that you want to hear, if you got some people you want us to interview, let us know. We'll be happy to oblige you.
No, we won't.
We will be
We
happy.
will think about it. Because I will not. Oh, you the boss.
I'm customer service.
You're the boss.
It's about customer service for me.
Oh, Lord.
You know what I'm saying?
I done already told
the customer
you
is always
service.
right.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but not today. But go ahead.
Anyway, once again, #1 show in the world. Thank you for being with us. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us today. I'm not going to always be right. Tamika's not going to always be wrong, but we will both always, and I mean always, be authentic.
Peace.
Salute.
Listen to Street Politicians on the Black Effect Network on iHeartRadio.
And catch us every single Wednesday for the video version of Street Politicians on iWomen.tv. That's how we own it.